Welcome back to the channel. This is the Earth Science Classroom. This video is on the North American Great Lakes, and we're looking at the geography of these amazing freshwater lakes in North America, split between Canada and United States of America. Lake Michigan, Lake Huron, Lake Superior, Lake Erie, and Lake Ontario. This is the Earth Science Classroom. When looking at the Great Lakes geography, you're also looking at the geology and looking at the history of this area geologically in terms of tectonics and how these amazing freshwater lakes were formed from glacial activity and retreat, and looking at the different basins and their histories. The North American Great Lakes are split between Canada and the US. The US has Lake Michigan solely in its country, and the other ones, Lake Superior, Lake Huron, Lake Erie, and Lake Ontario, are shared between both Canada and the US. So geographically, you see the dashed line going through Lake Superior and ending up going through Lake Ontario, and this is showing you the Canadian-US border, and then the two provinces in Canada which border the Great Lakes are Ontario and Quebec, and you do see Manitoba in this map to the far west. Then the US states around the Great Lakes region are Minnesota, Wisconsin, Michigan, Iowa, Illinois, Indiana, Ohio, Pennsylvania, and finally on the east, New York. In terms of human population and population density, you do have some larger cities and conurbations around the Great Lakes, as it is a hub for industrialization, trade, commerce, and it's one of the reasons why America and North America became such a powerhouse in economy, trade, and production through the use of transportation over the Great Lakes and the rivers that flow into the Great Lakes, and how the Great Lakes can be accessed from the Atlantic Ocean through the St. Lawrence River. Cities such as Duluth, Minnesota, Thunder Bay in Ontario, Milwaukee in Wisconsin, Chicago, Illinois, Detroit, Michigan, Cleveland, Ohio, Buffalo and Rochester, New York, and Hamilton, Mississauga, and Toronto in Ontario. Many of the Great Lakes have areas which contribute to the freshwater system and the whole watershed of the Great Lakes. First, you have Lake Nipigon, which is in the northwest part of Lake Superior, which is part of the watershed and will contribute water and fresh water into Lake Superior on its journey through to the Atlantic Ocean through the St. Lawrence River on the east. Then you have Green Bay, which is part of Lake Michigan. You have Georgian Bay, which is a part or a large part of Lake Huron. And you have Lake St. Clair, which is located geographically in between Lake Huron and Lake Erie, so south of Lake Huron and north of Lake Erie, and is part of the water's flow from Lake Huron into Lake Erie, and then over the Niagara Falls into Lake Ontario, and finally onto the Atlantic Ocean through the St. Lawrence River system. The North American Great Lakes holds a large volume of fresh water on this planet. In total, around 5,400 cubic miles of water are held within these 5 Great Lakes. The first one, Lake Superior, is extremely large, and Superior is perfect because it's the largest of the 5 Great Lakes, and an average depth of 483 feet, max depth of 1,332, and it holds 2,900 cubic miles of water. Then you have Lake Michigan with an average depth of 279 feet, max depth of 925, and it holds a little over 1,100 cubic miles of water. Then you have Lake Huron with an average depth of 195 feet, max depth of 750 feet, and holds 850 cubic miles of water. Then you have Lake Ontario, which is the average depth of 283 feet, max depth of 803, and it holds 393 cubic miles of water. And finally, the smallest Great Lake is Lake Erie, with an average depth of 62 feet, max depth of 210 feet, and it holds a little under 115 cubic miles of water. This is the Earth Science Classroom. Thanks for watching the video. If you liked it, please subscribe, like, and share. And if you want more content and videos on earth science, please check out my channel.